Kyren Williams' panic is probably going to kick into high gear. And you have to ask yourself, and you're not wrong either way. No one's right or wrong until it all happens. But the bottom line is you're going to have to decide whether you're going to be a panic Peter and you're going to take this situation, this Kyren Williams situation, which he's suffering with a foot injury. We're going to get into all that in a minute. You can be a panic Peter, or you can look at this situation the way that I think you should be looking at it. That you cuff Kyren Williams to Blake Corum, and you have a guaranteed top 5 running back in the National Football League in 2024 for the entirety of the 17 weeks. We're going to talk about the foot injury. It's according to McVay, I don't mean to spoil the beginning of the show, but it's not a concern. It's not a concern long term. And he thinks it's actually a good idea to get Kyren off the field because he's a maniac and he won't stop training hardcore. And we're going to talk about that. Brandon Aiyuk, T. Higgins, all kinds of news relating to A-Rod, Tank Dell, Rashee Rice, Justin Fields, Matthew Stafford, Tua Tagovailoa, JJ, and as I said, T. Higgins, the Fantasy Football Show. Kyren Williams edition. All in, baby. Not scared. That edition begins right now.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So you're going to get a lot of people that come in here and start saying things like, sorry, Prime, to use you and John as examples, but you guys don't even know. Like, what are you dealing with? Liz Frank injury, foot injuries are not good. This is a situation where a lot of overreacting Oscars are going to make Kyren Williams a slam dunk pick for us moving forward. Even better than before. Because if this guy falls into round 3, which I predict he probably will easily fall into the top of round 3, if not mid round 2, late round 2, we're talking about an even better situation. The crazy part is someone thinks I'm upset over this. Someone thinks that this makes me feel like, oh God, the sky's falling. I'm actually almost a little more intrigued than I was before. You tell me I can now walk into a fantasy draft. I'll read this in a second. But you tell me I can now walk into a fantasy draft where Kyren Williams goes in round number 3. Let me put his mug at the top of this group right here. You're telling me that I could go potentially, I don't know, Jamar Chase. Let's find Jamar Chase and put him over here on the top of this group here in round 1. You're telling me I can draft Jamar Chase in round 1. I could draft Saquon Barkley or Achane in round 2 and Kyren Williams in round 3 and maybe my Patrick Mahomes in round 4. You're telling me that is a potential draft approach I might be able to deploy in my upcoming fantasy football draft, all while cuffing Blake Corum to Kyren and getting 17 guaranteed starts of Sean McVay offense. This is probably the best news you got all offseason so far, if that's the case. But yet, a worried William, a petrified Peter, an overreacting Oscar, a nervous Ned, they're all going to see this from one perspective. Oh my God, he's not a top 5 running back. He's going to get hurt. You don't even have to pay nearly top 8 running back value. Maybe bottom of top 10 value for running backs. That's the price tag you're paying. This is a almost, if not a top end running back 2 now. The concern. So let me read what ESPN reported here. McVay said it's nothing to worry about. He'll be ready for training camp, but there's little issue when he was training. Kind of just leave it at that, but nothing to be concerned about. McVay joked that probably a good thing that Williams won't be on the field because he's a maniac and he works so hard sometimes. It's good to just be able to pull him back. He said he told Williams that it'd probably be a good thing for now that you'll be with VP of Sports Medicine and Performance Reggie Scott in a little bit of a more disciplined program instead of you just running yourself ragged. So what McVay's hinting at is this guy is the hardest worker he's ever seen, essentially, is what he's trying to tell you. In two separate statements related to this, he's saying he runs himself ragged, which we won't pretend that isn't why Blake Corum is a great cuff. We won't pretend that when we look at the Saturn Man list, Blake Corum isn't on the list cuffed to Kyren.
The Saturn Men.
One small
There's a reason.
man, one giant leap for Saturn.
There's a reason he is sitting here on the Saturn Man list handcuffed to Blake Corum, because this man knows nothing but to overwork himself. This is Isaiah Pacheco on steroids. That is what Kyren Williams is. So when someone says something like, oh, Kyren's going to get replaced, you want to say Kyren's going to get hurt? I'm fine with that take, and I'll say, you know what? He probably will run himself into the ground at some point in the next 2 or 3 years. I'm going to admit that right now. In Dynasty, 2 or 3 years is a long time, though. I'm not worried about him lasting 5 and 6 years. Kyren is Isaiah Pacheco on steroids. He's Gronkowski meets Pacheco meets any player you've ever met that runs their body into the ground. And McVay, in 2 statements out of 3, tells you he's the hardest worker around. And no one's unseating that kind of player. If you believe injury is going to take him out, you're cuffing Blake Corum. But what I can tell you is there's no fantasy football duo, no tandem, no handcuff monster that is more important than Corum and Kyren together in 2024. If you draft Kyren Williams, you should be ashamed of yourself if you don't cuff him to Corum in go-forward drafts. If you're in an existing Dynasty League, you can't always make that stuff happen, but I would do whatever I could to trade for that pick. I did so in a league where I traded traded Kyle Pitts down to Goddard to get Corum in a selection that allowed me to cuff him to Kyren so I could button up my running back room in a Dynasty. It's that important to make a move like that, to make sure you are putting your future at no risk whatsoever by cuffing the Sean McVay running back 1. McVay doesn't run multiple running backs. They drafted Corum to give this man a break. They drafted Corum because of what McVay's saying right here, that it's nothing to worry about. Probably good that we take Williams off the field because he's a maniac and he won't stop going. This is not a guy that was drafted late in the draft, low draft capital, that isn't earning his keep and have his spot on the team. This is a guy that's hungry to be the number 1 running back in the National Football League. And damn it, injury might step in and intervene. I at least admit that. That's why Corum's on the list. That's why Corum's a part of the number 1 must handcuff situation in all of fantasy football. But if you think this injury that's in May right now that McVay says is not a problem, he'll be ready to go by camp. He's an absolute maniac on the field. He won't stop. He needs to be removed from the field. If you think I'm running away from Kyren Williams and Blake Corum at the top of round 3, you're out of your mind. Corum to the mother freaking moon.
He's Kyren. He's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to.
Kyren and Corum to the mother freaking moon. Let's try that again.
He's Kyren. He's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyren. He can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
Corum and Kyren to Saturn. Corum and Kyren together to the moon. And anybody that sits on their hands and lets Corum and Kyren slip through their fingertips and they don't take advantage of the Kyren Williams, what's going to be 3rd round value, it's going to be a long season to watch it all play out, because you walked away from top 5 running back production in Kyren Williams because you got scared over a May little foot injury, and you let somebody in a chat, no offense to Prime and John, you let somebody's comment that has no understanding of the foot injury at all. It's just a small thing, McVay says, minor thing, not a Liz Frank injury, not surgery, not what some of these doctors are jumping out in front of everything and saying, he's had a foot issue before in the past. This could require surgery. I've seen those. People are sending them to me. It's craziness. McVay's telling you it's not a big deal. We want to keep him off the field because he won't stop. This guy's got a motor that never stops. He says it twice in this right here. And if you're going to let what's now a third round pick, probably top of round 3, maybe mid 3, maybe late 3, you're going to let that slip through your kung fu grip, through your fingertips, because someone like John and Prime says Liz Frank could be a Liz Frank injury. You're going to be so upset at yourself later. You've got a top 5, 6 overall pick. Understand what I'm saying. Kyren Williams has top 5 to 6 overall potential value if cuffed to quorum. You're going to allow that slip through your fingertips because of chatter. McVay's telling you it's not a problem. I don't care if he sits out voluntary workouts. I don't care about that at all. And another thing people are reporting on, be careful, is Kyren has a foot issue, won't take part in off-season program this spring. He should be back for training camp. A lot of people think that he'll be there for training camp means he won't be showing up or doing anything until July. That's not what's being said. It's that he'll be there in training camp. He's fine. It's not a big deal. He's not going to participate in the May activities, and we'll take June as we go just to make sure everything's good to go. If you're going to go running from Kyren third round value, I'm going to be here, and everybody in here will be here celebrating, and it's going to be very, very depressing to come into a live stream when Kyren Williams is punching in 2 and 3 touchdowns in a handful of games this year, back to back. That's the way Kyren rolls. That's the way he's going to do it in 2024. He did that in 2023, and it's going to be a long season for the doubters. This right here, Patrick Mahomes. We got a super chat here. 2 super chats. Super chats get immediate attention on this channel moving forward. I'm sorry for even making anybody wait at all. Johnny Boy with a $10 hauler. $10 haulers get
to the moon.
Immediate attention if they're the highest super chat of the moment. Let's go to this super chat by John. Johnny Boy, Smitty, you monster fire, going live for us every day. Johnny, I work for you, pal. I work for you, Johnny. You're the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for dropping that $10 hauler. I appreciate your support. Blake the Great, that is all. Thank you, Hernandez, for dropping that. Look, Blake is amazing to cuff to Kyren. It is a fantastic 100% must grab. Patrick Mahomes coming in, you know, a little you could say a little bit ready to cook. Maybe cook in the kitchen, whatever. Let the man cook from the parking lot into the facility. Nobody should be questioning Patrick Mahomes. Look, Peyton Manning had a little bit of a gut. This is the look of one of our most athletic players in the history of professional sports. If aliens needed a photo of our most elite athletes and we sent them Patrick Mahomes, they might not even send one ship to come attack us. They might say, this is their leader, this is their most athletic player, this is their GOAT in training, this guy right here. We're going to send one ship, not 4 ships. Call the other 3 ships back. Let's attack planet Earth. This is their leader. This must be a joke. And I don't care, because this man's marvelous, and he doesn't need to look like anything other than himself. So you let the haters hate. It is May, and I'm not worried about Patty Mahomes. He's going to have a stellar year, but people, that's going viral. Everybody and their mother's talking about that right there. T. Higgins, this news is kind of ongoing all off season long. T. Higgins still not signing his franchise tag tender, so he's not holding out technically, right? He is not obligated to go do anything because he's not currently under contract. So at some point he will sign this franchise tag tender. We might see what's been popular lately, these 1-year like offers. You sign your tender, or they offer a 1-year revamped contract. Like Barkley got, where they just say, okay, your franchise tag amount will be $21 million. We're going to give you $25 million. Sign this 1-year adjusted deal, they call it. So don't be shocked if T gets a 1-year adjusted deal instead of the franchise tag. It's kind of almost like a saving face move for those that are holding out, and they say, look, I'm holding out. I'm not going to come back at a principle. Can you do the agent might say, can you do the 1 year adjusted thing? So it looks like what he held out for does mean something. Let's give him 25 mil instead of 21 point whatever mil. So that could be the case here for T. Higgins. It does sound like the Bengals and T have been far apart for a long time. It doesn't sound like they've been sitting at the negotiation table just hammering things out. T wants top 5, 6 wide receiver money. The problem with T. Higgins and his stance is that every contract that's come after him potentially wanting a trade, requesting a trade in March, has made his value in his mind go up, and the Bengals probably have not moved an inch. We're not paying you top 5 wide receiver value, not to mention top 7 or 8 wide receiver value right now is so much higher than it was, 2-3 months ago, so the Bengals are probably very far off. You never know. These things can go 100,000 different ways unexpectedly, so I don't think they'll sign a deal, but you never know. It could happen very quickly. This is the report from Schefter. The ramifications of the disgruntled veteran wide receiver having yet signed his franchise tag means that he will be unable to report to the team for organized team activities next week. We're still a long way off from considering T. Higgins a potential holdout candidate, even if he requested a trade back in March. Yet to sign his tender, although the potential grows each day that he could be a potential holdout. So we'll wait and see. Higgins misses snaps, then his paycheck is on the line. Says this report here regarding Adam Schefter. Again, he's not under contract, but he will want to get paid. And the franchise tag amount is still significant above 20 mil. He's not going to miss that, but he is wanting that adjusted 1 year deal. I can tell you that right now. Justin Jefferson was not present for Vikings voluntary OTAs. This is to be expected. They better get this guy inked up. Once he gets inked up, Jamar Chase gets inked up, it's game over for Aiyuk getting some sort of contract. Even if one of JJ, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb get their contract, Aiyuk getting re-signed by the Niners is done. He's playing on... Right now, I've said this before. This is the trajectory I think of Brandon Aiyuk. This is what I think Aiyuk signing a deal this offseason looks like. This is January. This is now. And this is week 1. And this is the likelihood of Aiyuk signing a contract extension with the 49ers. So this is 100%, this is 0, this is 50. When it was January, it did seem like it was around 80%, right? As we've gotten further and further into the offseason with the contracts that have been slammed down on the docket here, we see Aiyuk's likelihood of signing this extension go down to probably, I would say, like 50%. Does that mean he holds out all year? I don't think so. I think he banks on himself on the 1 year deal because he signed the 5th year option. He banks on himself and then he gets a big fat payday because the salaries are going up every year. 20% minimum salaries are going up every 2 years on average, and that seems to be even going higher in some cases for certain positions. So as we get toward week 1, the likelihood obviously goes straight down if Aiyuk is not extended. The reason this keeps going down is because all these other contracts that get signed that make his perceived value, even in his own mind, go up. And the Niners are probably staying pretty level as to where they expect to pay him. And the Niner way is just such a mistake in the offseason. It is year after year after year after year after year after year after year. It just causes animosity between player and team and fan base and player. And you get no closer to signing a deal because the value keeps going up. So JJ and CeeDee Lamb have a big tie to Brandon Aiyuk, no matter if Aiyuk is nowhere near their values. I hear that as the most common ridiculous statement someone gives me as a rebuttal. Hey, Smitty, JJ has nothing to do with Brandon Aiyuk. Or when A.J. Brown signed his $84 million guaranteed deal on draft day, 12 minutes before the NFL draft started, and the Eagles were playing 3D chess with every single team out there, and specifically the 49ers. When the Eagles dropped this contract, $96 million, $84 million guaranteed, 12 minutes before the draft started, I stood up and did my standing desk view, and I grabbed the mic and I said, Aiyuk can't get traded now. This Eagle team just played 10D chess on the Niners and everybody else, dropping this deal 12 minutes before the draft while they were ready to maybe trade Aiyuk. And I also said Debo was more likely to be traded at that point, given that Aiyuk was now priced out of a trade. This was chess, 3D high-level chess that the Eagles were playing. Every deal. And then people, the most common, what I was saying was the most common reaction people give me is, Smitty, this is funny that you say this, Smitty. I don't believe that A.J. Brown and Aiyuk are the same player, so their contracts don't necessarily relate to each other. That's the biggest laughable rebuttal I've ever heard in my life. Because you're telling me Aiyuk doesn't think he's near the level of A.J. Brown? We all know we wouldn't pay him the same as A.J. Brown. We all know we wouldn't pay him the same as J.J. or CeeDee Lamb. But as those guys' values go up, as $84 million guaranteed gets thrown to A.J. Brown, guess where we start to look at the money in the contracts right below A.J. Brown? 70-something million guaranteed, 75 million guaranteed, 68 million, instead of what was at one point easily doable, 58 million guaranteed to Brandon Aiyuk. You could have easily given him $58 million guaranteed. He would have taken that with a smile before you had Devontae Smith get his deal, before you had St. Brown get his deal, and especially before you had A.J. Brown get his deal, and especially before you have what's likely to come, J.J. or Lamb or Jamar Chase. One of these contracts is going to drop, and it's game over. It's game over. And guess what? Aiyuk will be playing on his fifth-year option. So we'll see how that turns out, and then we might see an official trade request. So we'll see how that works out. And will a team trade for him? Tough to say. CeeDee Lamb, on that note, no CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons at OTAs. Lamb, the talk about this Lamb situation is that the team very much wants to get a deal done with Lamb, obviously, but they haven't budged. And the report here by Jane Slater mentions that there hasn't been any movement, really. It's not like the Cowboys have been trying to sit at the table and even discuss with Lamb anything recently. So the two sides haven't even really breached the topic in a while. And some are saying, and according to Slater and a couple other people, that the reason this might be is that they're kind of waiting for the JJ deal to set the bar, because they don't want to be the ones to come in, sign a deal, and JJ jumps on top of it. They kind of want JJ to ink it and then Lamb to at least get the same or above. So they're all kind of saying, like, Chase, JJ, Lamb, I can kind of wait. Who's going to go first? And so that's the thinking behind why there's no deal for Lamb yet, at least from the Lamb camp and people projecting that. Will Jerry sign Lamb to an extension? Can the Cowboys even afford it right now? Everything can be moved around and manipulated. Let's not pretend that the cap is actually all that real. But Dak Prescott being extended opens up a bunch of money to maybe do the Parsons and the Lamb situation. So we are kind of, I think, still very, very much leaning toward I think Jerry might change his mind about Dak Prescott. I think that $100 million assault lawsuit that got dropped on Dak also might open the door to Jerry. You know, maybe they were holding back on that. We don't want to sign a guy to a big multi-million-dollar contract that's getting sued for $100 million for assault. And that got dropped. That case got dropped. That $100 million lawsuit got dropped. Dak's no longer being looked at for that. So now maybe that's part of the reason, right? I still think it would be crazy of Jerry, and Jerry's crazy to go in any direction. We don't even know what he's thinking. But I think he's going to do something with... How can you not? And the moment Dak is extended, then Lamb's security for long-term value is definitely a lot. Like, we're feeling great about CeeDee Lamb for the long term. Right now, I'm a little worried. Right now, I'm a little worried about JJ. I'm a little worried about CeeDee Lamb. I'm more excited about Jamar Chase right now, and this could change with Dak getting extended. This could change if J.J. McCarthy surprises me. I don't think he will necessarily, at least in year one. But good God, like Jamar Chase has Joe Burrow. Like that's the more secure situation. MHJ in Dynasty is my number one wide receiver, and I'm not apologetic about it. It's like MHJ and Chase might be 1 and 2 until we get some sort of, I don't know, confirmation that J.J. McCarthy can feed Justin Jefferson, and then, you know, we get Lamb to get Dak Prescott long-term locked up. So hang tight on that news. This one right here, Dolphins. When the Dolphins extended Tua Tagovailoa and the Jaguars extend Trevor Lawrence, both deals should come in north above $50 million. He means when they extend, not when they extended. So it looks like the quarterback value for any quarterback that is remotely close to a top 7-8 quarterback is going to be above $50 million a year. Like pretty much baseline's been set. Purdy will get way above $50 million a year. It sounds like a ton of money now. This time next year, we're probably going to be looking at 60s. We'll probably be looking at more every year. 50 is going to look like chump change 4 or 5 years from now. Again, the cap goes up in some cases way more. 20% every 2 years. Salaries go up, cap goes up. It all increases. So, you lock up your player long term. Look at the Chiefs with Mahomes. They signed a $500 million 10-year deal. And at this point, that looks pretty good at the end of the day, right? Because you have this guy, Patrick Mahomes, who is been locked up for a while now on $50 million a year salary, and this is going to be $60 million before long, and they've got this guy on a 10-year deal. So it doesn't. If I'm Jerry, I'm locking Dak down. Dak's not the problem, but if Jerry believes he is, then maybe we want Dak elsewhere. Maybe we do want, I don't want this for Lamb, but maybe we do want Dak in LV with Bowers. Maybe we do want Dak in Miami throwing to the Dolphin wide receivers. I don't know. Probably won't happen until Tua gets his extension, though, and he probably will. Matt Stafford was present for opening day OTAs, but he does want money as well. So all these quarterbacks looking to get paid, the money's going to be, the checks are being written. Tua lost 10 to 15 pounds this offseason. I know everybody's into this losing weight thing. I would like to lose some LBs myself, so I can't blame any of these guys. But, I mean, good God, 10 to 15 pounds? If this guy plays 15 pounds lighter, then he's probably going to not be able to protect himself from those concussion concerns that we still have, that I still have. If you don't have them, I still have them. And I'm not down for this. He's not a mobile guy really anyway. So, what are we doing? 5 pounds, sure. Maybe 10. You're going to go down 15 pounds? No, thank you. Mike Williams' ACL has not been cleared for football activities. One of the most injury-prone wide receivers in the National Football League. Malachi Corley is a midseason monster for a mother-freaking reason, people. So Corley, midseason monster. Bowers, midseason monster. Hopefully Guerendo isn't, but Guerendo is. Penix Jr., midseason monster. Hopefully not, but we have him there, and I just have a feeling we'll see him. Spears, midseason monster. If Pollard gets hurt or falters or just him get on his horse in the receiving game. The Charger running backs falling off. They're the all ACL and Achilles running back crew. So Vidal to the moon. Keenan Allen's 32 years old, and we just think Odunze gets going later. Alvin Kamara's entering his 29 age season, and Kendre Miller could just have one of those amazing years. Think of Kyren, his rookie year wasn't, as effective as he wanted. Second year, he was great. So this guy was injured. Similar year to Kyren in terms of that not being kind of disappointment his rookie year, and then just being available for second year to explode. So I love the idea of Miller, being a midseason monster. Our midseason monster list is pretty damn good if you ask me. This is Calvin Krim coming in with a $5 hauler. Hey Smitty, Washington has a ton of cash left. I predict an Aiyuk trade for a package centered around Dotson and picks Aiyuk and DJ Moore together. Aiyuk and JD5, together once again. Yeah, that's definitely been on my mind too. I wonder if Washington or Baltimore, those would probably be the two teams that I can envision going after Aiyuk or Debo if a deal was still to be done. And the other thing about this, and the reason this crosses my mind constantly, is that you've got Adam Peters. You got Adam Peters in Washington, the scout, the best scout, the eye for talent, the guy gathering the Kittle, the Brock Purdy, the constant plucking of elite talent from the draft pool. Adam Peters was moved over to the Washington Commanders as GM to do what he did in San Francisco for so many years. And it makes a lot of sense that this has a connection to have happen. It makes a lot of sense. Think about how Kyle Shanahan has made trades and done some things where it's like if he has a connection to that coach, deals get done more easily. And so I think that connection to Adam Peters might open that door. The conversation that they could have is different than the conversation that couple other people would have. There's more of an open door policy, I'm sure. And so I really think that if one of the wide receivers, and don't count out Deebo Samuel though, Calvin. Deebo Samuel is still very movable for the 49ers after June 1. So if he's moved, let's say, in a deal similar to what you're saying, or just draft picks, even if they don't want Dotson. I don't know that they'll take Dotson. I don't know that they need a wide receiver. It wouldn't shock me, but they just drafted, Ricky Pearsall. I don't know that they necessarily want to get a wide receiver back, but if they get high draft capital, they get something else. I don't know. It would be interesting, and I very much think it's a possibility, but think Deebo and Aiyuk when you're thinking that, Calvin. It could definitely happen. Great comment. I agree with you 100%. Aaron Rodgers, no restrictions for Aaron Rodgers, according to Coach Robert Saleh. So that's great for A-Rod. And I've seen him throwing. He's cutting. He has no reservations on the Achilles. So he looks really, really good right now. Kirk Cousins also looks good. But keep in mind, Kirk Cousins is coming out of month 6. He's going into month 7. And even he said he's not out of the woods until he gets to the 9-month part. So Cousins is looking good, though, as well. The Achilles boys are looking good right now at the QB position. Tank Dell was seen participating in Texans OTAs. Look, he's been looking like a monster on the field. Tank Dell to the freaking moon. Tank Dell was involved in that shooting, but we heard that he got shot in the leg somewhere, and it went in and out. We finally got word that it was a leg injury, but he's running all over the field like a maniac, so I don't think anything went through the hamstring or the calf or to the point where it injured one of the major muscles in a significant way that it could cause tearing and pulling. My guess has been from the beginning that it was in the glute, because anytime you get shot in the rear end, you typically don't tell anybody where you got hit at. So we're just hearing like lower body leg. I bet it was where the glute meets the leg. Somewhere maybe entered the glute, came out a little bit part of the leg, and that's the end of the story. But Tank Dell's looking like a monster, and draft him with ease in the round 4. Rashee Rice, charges were dropped on the situation stemming from the alleged assault at the Dallas nightclub / restaurant. People say nightclub, but some people say restaurant. I actually never been there myself, but we've heard people describe it both ways. But those charges were dropped. That's good news for Rashee Rice because he has a lot of things piled up against him as it is. Some might take this as a turn in the right direction and things are going to go his way. But this situation had really no bearing on whether he's trying to avoid prison for his 6-car pileup, abandoning the scene, and facing 10 to 15 counts at some point and pleading guilty to some significant charges that will probably trigger at least a half a year, but probably a year-long suspension by the NFL. Justin Fields is competing for the starting job with Russell Wilson. This report is music to my ears, and when I see Fields on the field, sometimes this business is weird. And I admit, sometimes I'm eyeballing things and I'm going, I don't know why, but that guy looks the part. When I watch Fields out there, he looks glorious out there. He looks so poised, and it's early. He's just throwing in shorts. I get it. But I love the attitude. His back is against the wall. He's got nothing to lose. Russell Wilson's going to be a scared Scotty, looking like Kyren doubters right now. He's going to be sitting there holding the ball. He's going to be worried about who's behind him. Oh, there's Justin Fields behind me. He's going to be worried. And Fields is going to be sitting there like this, ready to take the job. And once he takes the job, no one's behind him, and he's going to take off because he's been doubted. He's been discarded. He's going to be revived and fixed by Mike Sullivan. And I believe Arthur Smith won't be able to touch or taint the situation to the degree that he did in Atlanta as the head coach. He has much less control, not to mention Mike Sullivan, who operated the passing attack last year, was given a promotion in the offseason. So I highly doubt they promote him within the offense to only take away his ability to really help command and shape the passing attack. So I'm really, really excited about what is kind of brewing behind the scenes with Justin Fields, Sullivan, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who drafted 2 offensive linemen, had probably a top 4 draft and offseason this offseason. No one did better than the Steelers, but maybe the Cardinals and the Washington Commanders, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Green Bay Packers looking fantastic, the offseason with Josh Jacobs and all that. Look, there's a lot of teams that did well in the offseason. The Pittsburgh Steelers did an A-, A+ in the offseason in general, and at least an A- draft. I give out A+s very rarely. The Cardinals got one, the Eagles got one, and the Steelers might damn well get an A, in between an A- and an A+ for their draft, but they definitely got an A, right in between, if not an A+ overall for the offseason. Drafting 2 offensive, this is a good team. This is a good defense, good offensive line, 2 running backs, doubled up at running back. You got Warren and Najee. You got doubled up wide receivers essentially now in Wilson, and then you've got Pickens. You've got 2 quarterbacks in Russell Wilson and Fields. You drafted 2 offensive linemen. You've got an unbelievable double. This is like NASA. Everything's doubled up. Double up. Have a backup plan for the backup plan. That shuttle isn't going to launch. We got the other shuttle built over here. It's like NASA up in Pittsburgh right now. And I love what's going on. And we talk about Khan being the con man. He's been he's the kind of guy who can still get an Aiyuk or Debo deal done. I don't think it happens, but it wouldn't shock me at this point if the Steelers were still in play for a Brandon Aiyuk or Debo Samuel trade. For all the people that say, it's not going to happen, you're the same people that told me that this wouldn't be in turmoil right now. And it is. And they drafted Ricky Pearsall. What does that tell you? What do you think they want to do with Ricky? Sit him on the bench? Not if they don't. Not if they can get him into a position to do well. This on that news of Brandon Aiyuk. This coming from our boy Raj himself, saying that Aiyuk and the Niners are they're not close on a deal at all, according to other reports that this is referencing, but just letting you know it's on over there in San Francisco. But even Raj is reporting that they're not close, Aiyuk and the Niners. Why are they not close? Gee, I wonder why they're not close. Maybe it's because they did it the Niner way, which is a ridiculous and almost stupid way to approach your retaining of players and extending of players. Why wait for the market to go up? Why buy a house in July when in January you're being told housing prices and interest rates are an all-time low for the year? That's essentially what it is. It's not like interest rates will be high and home prices will be, like it's some give and a take. What if someone came to you in January and you were for sure buying a house in that calendar year, and someone came to you in January and said, I have a time machine. Okay, a time machine, you can trust 100% what I'm saying. They can guarantee it to you. Housing prices and interest rates will never be lower in both accounts in January, and they will be significantly higher home prices and interest rates in July. What do you want to do? Buy a home now in January? You're going to buy no matter what you said, right? Or in July. We'll buy in July. We'll buy in July. I'm the 49ers. We'll buy in July. Thank you very much. Let's do It's just insane to me. Now this guy's, you can't even sign him. You can't even sign him. Crazy. Debo Samuel. Niners have the 3rd worst net rest differential since 2002 season. We talked about that yesterday. I think all these are from yesterday. JJ, yeah, these are all older pieces of news. I think that covers it. But in a nutshell, the biggest headline of the day is Kyren and all the petrified Peters out there that are going to take this thing and just be more scared than before. Or they look at it like similar to how people justify, when they were wrong on something, that they want to be right about the past. Okay, I said that he was going to be bad, and I didn't like him last year. I predicted him to get hurt again after he came back and was a monster. So this is music to the ears of anybody that's a Kyren doubter. But what I tell you is to laugh in the face of somebody that thinks that this isn't actually good news. Because Kyren Williams dropping to round 3 because everybody's scared is going to help win you a league. Kyren Williams cuffed to Blake Corum wins you a league. If I told you in January, yeah, Kyren's going to miss May and he's kind of resting in the early part of June, but he's going to be fine, according to McVay. It's not a long-term issue at all. They're just trying to rest him because he's a maniac and he won't stop. You know, he had some soreness in his foot, and they're like, bro, you're going to go out there. It's May, and you're acting like it's July. You need to relax. So they pulled him off the field, and McVay said, you need to relax. Go work with the trainer. Let's just make sure you're healthy, ready to go. Start working on your performance and making sure your body's in a pristine position to endure a full season. And he goes and sends them to work with their elite training staff. And everybody's looking at this like, oh my God, Kyren's got a Liz Frank injury, because they're just running their mouth. It's absolutely glorious that people are saying this. It's unbelievable. And you're telling me, if you came to me in January and said, Smitty, Kyren's going to be fine. He's just going to sit out May and stay healthy. You can get Jamar Chase, Barkley or Achane, Kyren and Mahomes. I wouldn't believe you. I'd call you a liar. I'd say you're lying to me. There's no way I can get Kyren in round 2, let alone round 3. This is a win-a-league formula. And you cuff Corum no matter what. His ADP's in round 8 or 9. You take him in 7 or 8. You bite the bullet and you grab Corum wherever you got to grab him. You got to be ashamed of yourself. Your mom's going to be ashamed of you if you exit a redraft or a best ball draft and you don't get Blake Corum. It's plain and simple. Like, that needs to be told to you. That's the honest truth. I'm gonna hit you, straight with it. You have to take Corum, because this is more about McVay than it really is anything else. McVay produces. Kyren is his boy. He loves Kyren like a child. And anybody that thinks they drafted this guy to replace Kyren, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just bitter that they don't have Kyren, and they're continuing to pile it on because they want to be right so bad about their past prediction. They're just going to keep digging the hole. This guy's not that injured. He's sitting out with a sore foot, and McVay said it's not a problem, and he's going to drop to round 3 because of it. He's dropping to round 3 because of it. He's dropping to round 3 because of it, and there are people who are going to actually try and tell you to run away. Tell everybody. If you're a Kyren doubter, tell everybody you know. Everybody.
He's Kyren. He's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyren. He can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
Man, it's amazing. Look, this might be one of the most amazing offseason days at the end of the day. This is the day Kyren may have become the best value in fantasy football even further. And in the Saturn Man list, I can't think of a more valuable player than Kyren right now if he's falling to round 3.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn.
This might have become the number 1 value in fantasy. The duo guarantees you, I don't know if people understand. McVay does not run multiple running backs. We want him to run multiple running backs to a degree this year. We want 20, 30% going to Corum. We want it. We want it. We need Kyren to stay healthy. But McVay doesn't run a running back by committee. And this man is treated like a child by McVay. It's crazy the way people are talking. It's great news. It's great news. You be grateful. Be grateful you've been handed this gift today. This is the day Kyren probably became a 3rd-round pick. This is the day you won multiple leagues, and it's all due to this man, Kyren Williams. Standing ovation, Kyren.
Mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy.
Unbelievable. What a day. What a day. What a day. Super chat by Rockout. Appreciate Rockout dropping the super wattage on screen. Rockout says, if they won't take Kyren Williams, I will. Appreciate that, Rockout. Rockout is not wrong. Rockout he knows what time it is, essentially. Rockout's got the groove. Let's see here. Phone lines will be open. Dial into the show. Appreciate every single one of you guys in the building. today. It's going to be interesting. And you know what? Part of us is just, I'm gonna try and do this as you guys should too. When we see the Kyren doubt, because there's going to be so much of it, we can't waste our time and stop and address it. We're just going to smile. Okay? So the next time we see a Kyren negative Noah, we'll drop it on the screen and we'll all just kind of drop an LOL. Nobody explain it. Nobody address it. Nobody talk to them. They don't deserve the time of day. We're just going to look at it. We're all gonna point to it, and then everybody drop an LOL. Okay, that's how we're gonna deal with the Kyren people moving forward. And there's nothing wrong with quorum. The quorum is a must cuff. Again, I can't stress that enough. But we're going to address it differently because we just don't have time. We got too much to take care of. You know, there's too much going on. We gotta really hit all this stuff as fast as we can as the values fly off the board and the opportunities. I don't have time to address every Kyren Williams hater that's going to come in. So we're just going to laugh at it from now on. We're just going to, as a group, we're just going to laugh at it. All right, dial into the show. Phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial into the attic.shop. Phone lines brought to you by The Attic. Look at those hoodies. Best hoodies around. Movies and hoodies, and they're t-shirts from 40 years ago. They're fantastic. Do it live. Smash it. Smash it. Smash it. Phone lines open. Let me put the phone number on screen. Dial in. Dial in. Dial in. Let's see here. I've seen... Don't sleep on Walker. Yeah, look, Walker is becoming a really good value. We also don't know what Ryan Grubb's going to do with him. I think if it was Pete Carroll, I would worry about how they use him, but we all might be kind of thinking that we're going to see Walker misused again, and we might not. So the fact that Walker's going in like tremendously good territory where he's like a running back 3 almost, you know. I definitely love drafting me some Walker later, but you know it's tough to say. Like ETN and Walker, I'd take ETN over Walker in a heartbeat. I think everybody would. So I don't know if you're saying that's who you like to draft later as a late running back 1 and 2. You go early wide receiver and tight end or something, you can definitely deploy that kind of strategy. As a Najee and Warren, a Connor and Benson. Those are great strategies, but what's crazy is what's almost becoming middle round running back territories, Kyren and Quorum. We're talking about probably if they're... I would not be shocked if in the upcoming drafts on Underdog, maybe even tonight when we draft, and guys who are drafting on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, claim your special pick plus up to $250 your first time deposit offer by using code Smitty. That means if you drop $250, they'll give you half of that. If you drop $500, they'll give you the $250. The max is $250. But even if you do the minimum of $10, they'll give you $5. So hit that link that's getting dropped in the live chat right now. Hit that link in the description if you're watching the replay, or use code Smitty. All of that does the same thing. And we'll be drafting tonight on Underdog Fantasy. And I can't wait to see where Kyren goes. Problem is, if we draft with a group of us, I don't think we're going to see it naturally fall. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it tonight. We'll have to play it by ear. But Kyren could definitely go in round 3 everywhere. In the scared Scotties, the worried Williams, the petrified Peters, the anxious, Angus's, they're all going to be coming out of the woodwork. And it's going to be amazing. So here's Prime coming in with some major assumptions. If Kyren had Jones fracture surgery, who said he had? Are you not listening, Prime? You're exactly the person we're talking about. Oh, and I said sorry. Let's try our new technique. Let me close that. Let me close this. Let's try it again. Hold on. This is the new way of dealing with it. We just have too many. Ready? We just have too many. Oh, here's another one. Oh boy. They're gonna be rampant up in this mug. Anyway, we'll be attacking the drafts tonight. Make sure you are here for it. I'm refreshing news as we speak to see if anything else flies in on news wires. There's been a lot of news today. It's been pretty heavy news driven day today on the news wires. I'm looking and scanning. I seriously think we're going to get some sort of contract news in the coming, I don't know, days or weeks. But I believe Dak, Lamb, Parsons. I believe, we'll hear a lot of Aiyuk chatter. It's just a matter of will Aiyuk get some sort of, pushback or bad news that has him start asking for a trade. And again, as we spoke, and Ron Navy's on the line, Pittsburgh Steelers, will ask him what his thoughts are on that. If he's hearing anything in Pittsburgh, maybe on local radio shows, like Aiyuk or Debo, either one, honestly. I don't think Aiyuk's a possibility, though, because who wants to pay Aiyuk what he's now going to want? But Debo trade, something like that after June 1, he becomes a lot more movable for the Niners. I still think the Steelers, the Washington Commanders, or the Ravens probably are the top three teams that would have post-NFL draft interest in a wide receiver, because it is not something that it's as easy to, it's not as easy to move a wide receiver, especially those big guys, those big names, for different reasons. Debo, older, more miles, contract, dead cap for the Niners, is issues there. And Aiyuk, fifth-year option, wants to be paid bank, sees A.J. Brown get a big deal. If Lamb or J.J. or Chase get their contract before Aiyuk does, I don't see how Aiyuk's mindset will be there to get even close to where the Niners are. How do they even come close to meeting in the middle? I just don't see it. And maybe Aiyuk has to settle that he's not A.J. Brown, which he will. He'll have to settle on the fact that he's not St. Brown, which in fact he will eventually have to settle onto that fact. But maybe the acquiring team will overpay much more than the Niners, and there's an opportunity for Aiyuk to reset his mind, understand the gravity of the situation, maybe take some high incentive type contract that allows him to make St. Brown money if he was to do St. Brown things. Who knows? But I still think Debo becomes a more likely trade. I think for anybody to think that Debo and Aiyuk are untouchable going forward, just because Kyle and John said we're no longer interested in moving them, I think that's crazy, because they drafted Ricky Pearsall in round 1. So, you don't even know. Debo's probably not there next year. Like, they're obviously preparing for replacing one of them or resetting their wide receiver room, within a year or two. So that's what I have to say about that. Ron, you're live. Have you heard anything in Pittsburgh at all around Aiyuk and Debo, and has that completely died down?
It's completely died down, because the chat now is they're thinking about signing broke-ass Thomas.
Okay. Yeah. Mike Thomas?
They're thinking about.
Yeah.
Mike.
God. I don't know what team would even want to bring him in. He's just going to tie up money, right, waste a roster spot, make it hard for you to move on from that position. Like, do we cut him? Do we, that's ridiculous. What a fall from grace.
Boyd played for Pitt. I mean, why not bring him home? They could have paid Boyd, but I don't understand that move either. If you can't get Aiyuk or one of those other guys, why not bring in Boyd? I don't understand it. Why would you want Thomas, who stays on the field for maybe 2 or 3 games and then he's broke?
Yeah, I mean, he really has nothing left to offer. I mean, we heard it last year. A few people came in here and they're like, you watch, Thomas is going to have a great year. Now, granted, like, Olave didn't have as good a year as we wanted, but I think that's the Saints. I'm hopeful that Rattler could be the saving grace if for any reason Carr, doesn't, pull a rabbit out of his hat and become a pretty decent option for Olave, which I'm not expecting it. But hopefully Rattler's is some surprise, because he has a lot of that allure. But teams passed on him because of that documentary football video on, Netflix or whatever. And a lot of teams said he just looked so bad in that to them. They couldn't draft him. He was off a lot of teams' boards from that. So he's kind of like that. I don't know. I don't know what personality type you call it, but it's driven teams away from wanting to bring him on roster. But hopefully he's able to prove people wrong in New Orleans. He's a great prospect, no doubt about it. I like Rattler a lot. I like the Jets rookie Travis as well. I think he's got a lot of upside. I think Joe Milton's got a lot of upside in New England. I know he doesn't really have a clear path, but maybe if May, knock on wood, were to get hurt or something, he could develop. Or maybe they trade him at some point. I don't know. I was really disappointed that no team grabbed him as a backup because he felt like no other team grabbed him as a backup because he felt like a guy that could have climbed into a starting job. I like him a lot. But any rumblings about this Najee contract extension that you were talking about earlier that's kind of making its way around local Pittsburgh Steelers radio waves?
Yeah, I think further they get in before the season starts, I think they'll offer him a good extension. That's what I feel. That's what rumblings are. So, but I think they were smart to do it because look, he trained up he changed his training thing. He's looking good because he knows now that they did pick up his 5th-year option. He's in a contract year, so he has all the incentives to do very well this year. I think that was a smart move by the Steelers to do that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Even if he does go somewhere else next year, he's going to be incentivized to play hard this year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I definitely feel like the running back room is solid enough that no matter if you cuff the two of them, it's very hard to mess it up because you can get Najee. Najee's one of my favorite round 8 running backs and underdog. I think that's his ADP right now is around 8 or 9, right? Let me see if I can pull up the.
Yeah, somewhere around.
It's insane. It's insane value. And then Warren's right behind him. You almost have to back-to-back pick him, but I don't mind that if you're talking about going hero RB with Bijan or Gibbs or Hall and then coming back around and not getting your running back 2 until you grab Najee at 86 overall, and that's running back 23, and then Jaylen Warren's 91. So 86 and 91, you're talking about 86 being right around the beginning, or I'd say the beginning of round number 8. So round number 8, you get Najee. Round number 9, you get Warren if you want. Or you grab Najee and you grab Benson. You grab Najee. You grab Connor. You grab Benson. I've even grabbed Najee, Benson, and Connor together as my running back 2 in a hero RB best ball approach on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. It's a favorite strategy of mine right now. Love it.
Yeah. What do you think about your boy Marvin? He's gonna change history, the way things are operating, coming out of college, in college, and coming out of college.
Yeah, I love Marvin Harrison's approach of protecting players and protecting himself, and any negativity he's getting at all on this is ridiculous to me because
the fanatics, they take advantage of these young players while they're still in college and they sign them to 4-year deals. Marvin's like, no, I don't want your money. I can do better on my own once I get to the NFL.
Yeah,
and fanatics put in a lawsuit against him.
Yeah.
And but you can't buy any Marvin Harrison jerseys right now. He's not on Madden. You can't play him on Madden. And if you collect sports cards, you can't get a sports card.
I got
He has no deal.
yeah, I got his college one right here. We'll see how that affects it, but I got his college one right here. Marvin Harrison Jr. Mint 10 orange. Love this one right here. So I'm all about Marvin Harrison Jr. and investing in cars and autographs once the autographs become available. But yeah, he's doing things the smart way. And yeah, he's changing these college kids. It was so shady how Fanatics would do it, in my opinion, at least. It's my opinion. They would sign them 2 years before they hit college, so that they would say, like, you don't even know if you're going to the pros, or sorry, before they hit the pros. You don't even know if you're going to the pros. This is 2 years away. So they'd sign a 4-year deal while they were sophomores going to, I think, become juniors or somewhere around there. And that way they didn't know what they were going to be. They didn't know how good they were going to be. And then they could lock everybody down no matter what for the 2 years heading into, the pros. And yeah, I mean, Harrison's been one step ahead of everybody. Not doing the combine. I think that becomes a normalcy to a degree. And I don't know that it's going to be done the right way, though. The way Marvin Harrison Jr. did it was, this guy, you just didn't even question it. You're like, he doesn't want to do the combine. He doesn't want to do the combine. He deserves that. He's so good. I don't care. I don't judge him for it. He didn't feel like a diva at all. It just felt like this guy knows he's the number one. He doesn't need to drop weight, try and hit numbers. He's going to start working on being a professional football player. And everybody else is playing these games, dropping weight, trying to get the 40 time down, trying to gain weight to get the bench press up, to become an unnatural body weight for the combine, while Marvin Harrison Jr. just bypassed that, started working ahead of it. He's 5, 6, 7 weeks, maybe 2 months ahead of everybody in terms of working out to be a professional athlete. And so he's every step of the way. I just envision all of this translating into him being a far accelerated rookie receiver than we've ever seen too. It just all makes sense that he's far ahead of the game across the board. He's my number one dynasty wide receiver. I think he's going to be absolutely magnificent at the next level. He's like a combination of, I don't know what you could say, like Larry Fitzgerald meets AJ Green meets something that's a little bit faster, quicker. But he's gonna be great. He's gonna get so much better at the next level too. Like his dad has done a good job training this kid. Calvin Crimp says, "Hey Smitty, you worry about London losing targets to Pitts, Mooney, and Bijan? People forget Mooney had a 1,000-yard season 3 years ago." I mean, listen to the question though. 3 years ago, Mooney had a 1,000-yard season. Mooney's a second, like complimentary second wide receiver. He's not taking anything away from London. Not to mention, you got to understand that they're injecting so much more passing into this offense that I'm not worried about it. Not to mention London is one of the best contested catch receivers in the National Football League. Even last year's data shows that with Ritter. So you give him Kirk Cousins or Penix Jr., he's golden, man. This guy's going to have a remarkable year. I do think his ADP is getting a little bit, not out of hand necessarily, but like the upside, you're drafting it at a ceiling. Not that you can't draft players at their ceiling, but you certainly, run a little bit more risk of if they have an injury or something, you don't get your value back. Like if you draft a player at the end of round 2, he misses 2 or 3 games, he still easily earns you that value. Whereas London's getting drafted at like sometimes 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 overall. And if he gets injured, you're probably getting like a receiver that's ranking like 15, 16, 17, 18 overall in hindsight. So there's some risk involved, but I don't run away from it. And sometimes you reach on one player and then take safe picks and you end up with a Bijan, or let's call it a Gibbs London. So you feel a little like you took London a little early at the top of round 2, let's say. But then you end up getting Jacobs and Mahomes. And then at the end of the day, you're not worried at all about that London reach because you got a fantastic team. Or you get Henry in the 3rd round, Mahomes in the 4th round, or Hurts in the 4th round, and Henry in the 3rd round, and London and Gibbs, and you have a fantastic squad. So I'm not worried about that at all. But so London to the moon. Not concerned one single bit. Look at Cousins fed all those guys in Minnesota. Penix Jr. can operate that same way. So we're looking at a safeguarded passing attack in Atlanta, which is why I love the Penix Jr. selection. And I think everybody that says it's garbage, like it sucks if you're a Cousins truther, and you want to see this guy not have any sort of pressure behind him. But as Ron will tell you, Cousins is the kind of guy that will motivate him. So I don't think Ron's even worried about that probably at the end of the day.
No,
But
Cousins is going to play with a
chip on his shoulder. So, but the other thing I love is that the Falcons don't care. Like, they care about Cousins, obviously, but they're going to run them side by side in practice like they're already doing to make sure they're not going to worry about, we can't have them rest during games to have pressure. Like, they're going to say, this is our football team. This is a business. Cousins is going to fend them off. We believe that. And we need to have Penix Jr. ready if Cousins has any sort of relapse or any sort of calf injury or something that we got to be careful with them. Take him off, put Penix Jr. in, and win the game, because every game matters, because we're gonna try and win this year. We're gonna try and be the Detroit Lions or Houston Texans this year, not next year, this year. That's the way the Atlanta Falcons are approaching the year, as they should, because they got so much talent. What?
And you just mentioned calf injury. And, Rodgers had the calf injury before he tore his Achilles.
Yes.
And I don't know if Cousins did or not, but I was listening to Jim Miller and them when I was driving on Sirius. And Jim Miller says, yeah, it happened to me. Calf injury, both my calves. And then shortly after that, I tore both
the calf. Yeah, we talk about that on the show all the time. The calf injuries directly, it turns into the Achilles. So if you have a calf strain and you keep, especially when you're older, you keep forcing the issue, it turns into a rupture, which can rupture high on the Achilles, low on the calf. But as I've mentioned before, the reason you tear the other Achilles a lot of the time coming back from an Achilles injury is because you've worn them both down in similar fashion. It's not so much like the Achilles or the patellar tendon are freak of nature tears. Sometimes you've put so much mileage in a bad way on the patellar tendon or on the Achilles because of the way you operate your body. And it's not like you could be the fastest player in the world. It doesn't mean you're doing necessarily things wrong. You use and jump and land a certain way. Like I used to land and put all my force on my patellar tendons. And so when I snap my patellar tendon, he's like, it's because of the way you jump, run, cut, and, eventually it gave out. So my other one's probably taxed at this age in my life, so I'm probably pretty prone to tear the other one. Same thing with Achilles tears. Like I have a feeling, and I've said this before, they're going to do some extensive preemptive Achilles scans and try and, figure out, it's just expensive, but try and figure out who's got vulnerabilities with their Achilles tendon. Because if you would have looked at, who was it, Greenlaw that tore it during the Super Bowl? If you would have looked at his Achilles right before he, hold on a second. If you would have looked at his Achilles right before he ran out onto the field, you'd see damage in it.
Yeah. Burrow needs to be careful because he had that big calf injury, remember, and it lingered.
Yeah. I mean, anybody, and what's weird though too is that like calf injuries Achilles tears were not even a thing. Remember when ACL tears weren't a thing? They just weren't really a thing. And then they became a thing. Yeah. And then it's like hamstrings, it's like one thing after. It's weird how it comes in waves. And now it's calf injuries, and now it's Achilles and calf injuries. And, some of it's the way players play now. But Smitty, thoughts on Rachaad White and London or Garrett Wilson? I like Rachaad White if you're getting him at an impressive, territory. Like low risk territory. Where is that? I don't know. If I look at, let me look at one of my drafts right now and see where he's going. Just randomly pick a draft that I'm on Underdog with. And Rachaad White is going, he went in the fifth round. I don't mind that. Rachaad White near James Cook. I don't mind that. Rachaad White near Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen. There are some players I like more than Rachaad White, like Trey McBride, AR5 if you need a quarterback. Jaden Reed's kind of even as interesting to me as Rachaad White, to be honest with you. But there's a territory of like cloudiness, like where I don't know that I love him there, and then he turns into a great value in round 6. But as far as London and Garrett Wilson, I mean, you're splitting hairs. I probably roll with Garrett Wilson. I think he's the more likely, I guess, player to be top 5 or 6. But honestly, bro, like they're both very, very close. I mean, London's getting handed 2 quarterbacks that almost safeguard his top 6 to 10 value, and Garrett Wilson probably has a lower, or he has like a worse floor because he only has the one older quarterback coming back from the Achilles injury. So London might be safer than Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson might have like one draft spot advantage over. They're neck and neck, man. To be honest with you, side by side, I'm taking one in one league at 12 overall, and I'm taking one in the other league. If those are the best receivers left and it drops off significantly and I need a wide receiver and I feel like wide receiver is the way to go, it's the best player available right there, I'm taking one in one league and one in the other, meaning that it's almost a dead tie. Push comes to shove, I guess I'd take Garrett Wilson, but honestly, I might regret that the minute I make the selection. That's how close it is for me. And Ezra dropping a $20 hauler. It says Corum handcuff appreciation gift. Smitty the GOAT. Yeah, got to cuff the two of them. There's just no excuse about it. There's no way of dancing around the fact that this man runs so hard and ragged that, yes, you want to say injury is a concern. 100% agree. And that's why we're cuffing Corum. You wouldn't have Corum peeking his head over Kyren's shoulder on the Saturn Man list if I didn't also agree that he runs himself ragged. And in the quote here by McVay, two of the things McVay spends time talking about is, one, nothing to worry about. Two, this guy runs himself ragged like a maniac. Three, it's good that he's probably taken off the field and he gets to work with trainers and performance medicine and make sure he, kind of like Christian Watson, they want to just attack his offseason a certain way to keep him healthy because he is an injury risk. He is. It is. At the end of the day, he is. But that argument I get. That argument makes sense, but we have a solution for it. And that solution is Corum. Kyren at third round value with Corum wins leagues. If you want to take just Corum as a standalone, I'm fine with that too. There's no hatred toward Corum at all. But when people start acting like Kyren is going to have his job taken from Corum if Kyren's on the field healthy, it's ridiculous talk because McVay will laugh in your face and say, Kyren's the guy. Believe me, the way he talks about him, go back and look at some of the press conferences, even at the end of the year last year, how he's drooling over Kyren. And he says when Kyren's on the field, this is a completely different offense. We need Kyren. Kyren represents the Rams is a quote that he said at the end of the year last year. He loves him. The combination of the two, no doubt about it, it's a must-have. Embarrassing if you walk out of your upcoming draft knowing this information and you don't cuff them together. It's a must. Almost as a must as drafting Cousins and Penix Jr. together, or Najee and having Warren, or drafting Connor and getting Benson. Like, those are all absolute must situations, 100%. And our handcuff board here, if it comes down to Garendo getting that backup job, we don't know if he would be one. The right to Mostert or the right to Achane, or all three of them together, is also another must. There's ways to safeguard yourself by guaranteeing you the value that a Kyren Corum can get you, an Achane, a Wright, and a Mostert can get you, a McCaffrey and a Garendo can get you. There's something special about not only their systems, but the players that are all involved there that produce an elite product. Corum in a McVay system would be a top 5 to 10 running back. It's just the way it is. And you have to understand that. And without it insulting your Kyren take, you have to understand that. That's why they're a must cuff. That's why they're the number one, and have been since I dropped this board, the number one cuff in fantasy football. And the fact that you get Kyren probably, Ron, where would you say Kyren falls? At least 3.1 now, right? At least.
He should, yeah.
At least.
People.
I would say at least.
Hey,
yeah.
BS, maybe?
What?
You want to hear some BS?
Yeah, can I hit this $20 hauler real quick for Ezra? Let me hit this. I forgot to hit it. $20 hauler for Ezra.
Yeah,
I still got all the money from when you dropped that super chat all over my floor. My floor is an absolute disaster. Hold on.
Alert. Super chat alert.
I usually pay the little ones like a couple bucks to clean up the money and put it back in the briefcase and everything, and I haven't had them around the last day. They've been asleep or... Go ahead. Tell me your BS.
YouTube. The YouTube ads screw you, kind of. An ad just came up for another fantasy football show.
Okay.
On your fantasy football show.
Okay, Ron. I got you. Thank you, Ezra, for the $20 holler.
Yeah. I don't know why YouTube would do.
Because they're a business. E-Rock, Smitty, thoughts on Rashad? I already answered that one. I think I'm all done on the. I think I got all the super chats caught up. Phone lines are open. If anybody wants to dial into the phone line, please dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Get my baby off the line.
All right. I know. Take CMC away and he's not. And take CMC away and he's not good. What's that mean, John? What's that mean? You talking about Grendo? What are you talking about?
I think he's talking about Purdy.
I don't know. Oh yeah, okay. He probably is talking about Purdy. I think that John and I don't know that he's not good, but I think he drops off. That's the closest John and I have ever agreed on anything. But I still think he's a good quarterback, but I think that like he turns into, the player we saw fail in the playoffs. Like he was good. He's good enough to get to the playoffs. I mean, we've seen this before with quarterbacks, right? But Jonathan just got gifted. Let me see who dropped gifted.
No, Jonathan Cobble is the one that gifted.
Yeah. Cobble, thank you for dropping the 5 gifted memberships. The man, the myth, the legend. Jonathan Coble dropping wads. Clarence got one. Iceman got one. Adam got one. Interceptor and Andrew got one. Appreciate you, Coble, coming in strong, pal. Coble to the moon. What else we got? We'll be drafting tonight, guys. Don't worry.
What do you think? What do you think the chances are that? Okay, put it this way. Do you think Reed is going to be the number 1 receiver of Green Bay, or do you think that Watson has come back?
I think Watson could have a comeback. I think I saw a stat yesterday that said that Watson, when he was on the field, was still the number 1 wide receiver across the board in almost every category. Like when he was on the field, getting what would be considered starter snaps. When you look at just starter snap games, he was still the number 1 in a lot of categories. However, I do believe that Jaden Reed is the better receiver to bank on, because we still have to. I mean, we can't assume Watson's going to shake free all these problems yet, but I would definitely cuff him. They're one of those really rare wide receiver cuffs in fantasy that make a lot of sense, especially in best ball, because someone's going to overeat, not just eat well, overeat in Green Bay in the wide receiver room. I think Luke Musgrave overeats. I think Kraft and Musgrave together safeguards that in case Luke Musgrave can't stay healthy. One of the tight end's going to eat. The tight end's going to eat, and one of Watson. And I like Wicks. And I'm not just down on Wicks because he followed me on Instagram and then unfollowed me.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I didn't know where he followed me. Then, after the season, I even talked him up. And after the season, he unfollowed me. But that's not me. I'm just joking around. I could care less. But it's probably a bot. Probably a bot system. His media team probably did it. But I think Wicks is good. I just don't think he's on the same level. He's a very good complementary wide receiver for the offense, but I think and Dobbs, same thing. Dobbs and Wicks they're good players. They're Moonies. They're Darnell Moonies. Jaden Reed has the ability to be a really, really good receiver, like Debo Samuel-esque. He's very Debo-like. Runs the ball, catches the ball. He's their secret weapon all over the field. But Christian Watson, if he was healthy, he could be a monster. So cuff the two together in best ball. Love it. And cuff him in maybe regular as well. I don't know that it has to be best ball, but I really like Reed. Reed is a fantastic. He's like one of my quietly favorite fun reaches at wide receiver 2 in some of these best ball drafts where I'm looking at other names and I'm like, I just don't see myself. Ziggy, show me the front door. I just don't see. I see a guy like. Let me just see where I find Reed. So Reed, Xavier Worthy, Christian Kirk, Roma Dunze, McConkey. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take Reed all day long. I'm not saying I hate those guys. Keon Coleman's right around there. I might rotate that. I think Keon Coleman could really have a good rookie year. Ziggy, show me the front door.
Okay.
Let me make sure
Not by stretching the defense. He won't he can't stretch the defense.
Ziggy off.
He's too.
What? Why can't he stretch the defense?
He's too slow. He doesn't have the breakaway speed to do that. He's more of a.
I don't know if I'd say that. I'd say like he just does a lot over the middle. Maybe you don't see it quite as much, but
he'll be big down in the red zone in that area. I think.
His 40 time was 4.45. He's fine. I mean, it's not like he's not a burner, but like, you know, that's still good. All right, let me go over to Young and then over to Bob from Cali. Young, you're live. Hit me with it.
Hey, what up, Smitty? Good
What's
afternoon. Hey, so I just wanted your opinion on something. Do you think without Christian McCaffrey, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy are the exact same quarterback?
No. Let me look again. I don't know how many times I have to stress this because I hear it a lot. Smitty, you're biased.
I'm seeing a little debate going on in the chat right now.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying this to you. I'm just saying I can come without bias. I 100% can come without bias. I will tell you that Brock Purdy is maybe 10 times the quarterback that Jimmy Garoppolo is. The debate that I think people are trying to have, but they're having poorly if they're having this debate, is the outcome of Purdy going to be top 5 just because he's that much of a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo? No. I mean, look, Purdy's got his faults, and when you take Jimmy didn't have all of this firing on all cylinders like Brock did. Neither did Trey Lance. So you take CMC off the field. We've already seen what happens to Brock. He turns into a different player. Not saying he can't improve and without CMC be better than he was without CMC. Or if Trent Williams is out of the game, he ends up getting smashed. He ends up making bad decisions. I'm not saying he can't also get better without Trent Williams in the lineup. But the truth of the matter is, for anybody that says, oh, you're crazy if you think he's a system guy, he's not a system guy necessarily, but he's certainly propped up by the system as he's learning and becoming who he's becoming. Like, you take away any big parts of the system, and he absolutely changes into a different quarterback. And as he probably should, because he's still young and learning. But this man walked into the lineup when they shoved Brock Purdy in. He knew everything right away, the entire playbook. So Brock Purdy's 10 times more intelligent than Jimmy Garoppolo under center. He's got very good pocket presence, super good pocket presence. He's good mobility, good decision making to tuck and run and when to throw. There's a lot about Brock Purdy that I like, and I'll give him his flowers. But is he a top 5 NFL or fantasy football specifically quarterback? No, not even close. Because I could list off nearly 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks in both real life football and fantasy that I want more than Brock. But that's the problem with the Niner fan is they hear that as tremendous disrespect. When it's more me cutting him back down to size. To say Brock Purdy's borderline 10 to 12 in the NFL is a pretty big compliment given the big names that are currently in the QB pool in the NFL, because we got some ballers at the quarterback position. This is a saturated position right now in the NFL. From AR5, like Kirk Cousins, Ron gets pissed off because everyone disrespects him. This guy's drafted as a backup quarterback in fantasy football across the board. We can't even squeeze Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or any of these quarterbacks into our top 10 to 12 because there's just no room for it. You got to squeeze AR5 in there and JD5 and all these other up-and-coming quarterbacks. And somebody might say, wait, pump the brakes on JD5. Look, that's fine. You can wait on him. I won't. But this league, I would take JD5 in a millisecond over Brock Purdy. In a millisecond. I wouldn't even hesitate. I don't care if he hasn't taken a snap. That's why we're doing what we do. What are you going to wait till it's obvious before we make any decisions or bold takes? I'd take JD5 in a heartbeat over, I would say, maybe every quarterback in the league, but maybe 6 or 7 of them And even those, the 5, 6, 7, I'm like toying around with the idea. That's how good JD5 is going to be. And, you know, maybe people aren't ready for that. And that's fine. But people weren't ready for Mahomes when Mahomes came out. And on my Instagram, there's a guy that was saying something disrespectful, and then another guy, like at the same time, said something very respectful. And I put them both up and just said, this is what I deal with all day, just in fun. It doesn't bother me. But just letting people know that you get hit left and right constantly throughout your day. I'm just constantly getting punched from both sides, and it's funny. But one guy's giving me my flowers, saying nobody predicted Josh Allen like you did when he was coming in with the 50% accuracy, looked like trash throwing the ball his rookie year. And you said before he took an NFL snap, he was going to be a top 1, not 5, top 1 to 5 quarterback in the National Football League. That's what I said. Did I like Trey Lance? Yeah. Have I missed on quarterbacks? Absolutely. And some of these I would say I blame the coach, but that's still on me because I didn't evaluate the coaching meddling and situation that unfolded the way it did. But Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, these were all big, bold predictions that were far and wide out of left field that got ridiculed every single time I dropped them. And JD5's no different. And I promise you one thing, when it's all said and done on JD5, we're going to have everybody have foggy memories on how bold it was. It's going to be like, it was pretty obvious that he was going to be a touch, just like Josh Allen and Mahomes. People laugh when you tell them you predicted Mahomes. Oh, everybody knew he was going to be good. No, they didn't. He wasn't even starting his rookie year. And Alex Smith was said by the fan base, more than 50% of the fan base, we want Alex Smith, not this Mahomes guy that they drafted. And when they drafted Mahomes, the fan base was irate. They booed him. When Josh Allen was drafted by the fan base, booed him. The fan base was irate that the team drafted Josh Allen. So JD5 gets a lot of hate. JD5 takes on this channel get a lot of hate. I'm going to remember it. Everyone here is going to, for the most part, remember it, and people are going to come in a year from now and go, oh, that's a real bold call. You're so obvious. But it's right. It's right. I forget what you even asked, Young.
We were talking about Brock Purdy, but that was beautiful, bro. That was good.
I don't know. You ask me about Brock Purdy, I will talk about JD5. I will find a way. I will find a way. But yeah, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy could develop into a top 10 quarterback, no doubt about it. Is he a top? I know people are saying the metrics were there last year, the numbers were there. He is look. You can say whatever the hell you want about what he will be. Will he be a product of the Niner offense or not? I'm not saying he will be, but was he last year? It was a combination, no doubt about it. Like, did he have the tools to get it done? You can't just be a product of an offense, or Jimmy Garoppolo would have did what Brock Purdy did, but he didn't. So you have to be somewhat good and competent. He's such a smart kid. He really is, and he's very likable. That locker room would literally go to war for him, and those are things you can't like replicate, right? So he brings the camaraderie, and his team loves him. He's a very likable guy, and he's so smart. So you couple that with the system, and he produced what he produced, you know. But once the system dissolves a little, it is going to. It is. McCaffrey's 28 years old. You know, Kittle is like Gronk in terms of the way he treats his body. He's very, very much on a ticking time bomb. And Debo, 1 to 2 years, 3 years. I love him in Dynasty because 2 to 3 years is still a long time to me. But I do acknowledge that he doesn't have 7 years at the way he's been running to the ground. Trent Williams. I mean, this thing's going to collapse soon. You know, to the point where it's not top 4 in the league. Could you still linger above the 50% mark and still be better than a lot of other teams? Yeah, of course. But are you Super Bowl contending? No. Not I think once Christian McCaffrey's off the table. Then it's a completely different team.
Yeah, but you know what, going back to Purdy, like with that being his first full season start, and you know, that wasn't too shabby. You know what I mean? And I think that he's definitely he's got room to grow. You know, even more. So I'm good with that. You know, so that's
can I tell you something? Like Goff can take the Lions to a Super Bowl. Is Brock Purdy in a worst case scenario? Jared Goff. That's your worst case scenario, that he's Jared Goff or maybe even a little bit better. and that could take you to a Super Bowl. So, like, even if things collapse, you could still rebuild around it and be back here 2 or 3 years from now. But let's make no mistake about it. The Niner window is now. You guys have a shot. You guys are favored in every single game, I believe, this year. You've got one of the worst rest times out of all the teams, though. So there is a give and a take to that. You travel, I think, third or fourth most, and you have the least amount of rest in between all the games, or your third or something.
The window's been open since 2019.
Yeah, your window last year was bigger than my wingspan. Your window this year is like a third the size, maybe half the size, just because of what the Falcons or what the the Falcons too, but what the Eagles are doing. I just think that a lot of teams got better, and you guys are sitting there with not a lot of depth behind the positions that make you the difference maker. So the window is still there. I mean, if everybody stayed healthy, you probably have, I would say, as good as a shot than anybody, maybe the best shot to win the NFC at least and make another Super Bowl appearance. Probably even more so than the Eagles if you were to stay healthy. Maybe, or at least equal to the Eagles. But this whole notion that the Eagles are figured out, they crumbled, Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback, it makes me laugh, bro. Eagles are coming for everybody.
Yeah, that's fair. I could agree with that, man. They really went after it in the off season and stuff, and so
the Falcons, the Lions, the Packers, the Eagles, the Niners, probably the best teams in the NFC. I would say Dallas is TBA.
Got better in the off season.
Yeah, Dallas can't be better than they were last year, in my opinion. I just don't think they can. I think they could still be obviously playoff contenders, right, to get into the playoffs, but they are not Super Bowl winners right now. They have no running game. The Vikings, no shot in my mind. The Washington Commanders are the one team on this NFC board right here that I feel like could be the Lions of this year, like immediately. I think they've got that kind of capability. AFC, I mean, some teams got better in the AFC. Look at the Ravens, man. The Ravens were as good as anybody until they had to push their luck for consecutive hard-fought games in the playoffs, and Lamar couldn't do it all himself. Now you got Derrick Henry, who, God, it looks scary seeing him in that purple and black uniform. Like he looks like he's a menace, ready to. I hope he has a big year. The Bengals have a healthy Joe Burrow. We'll see how that goes. The Chiefs are better than before, in my opinion, even with Rashee Rice off the team, let's say, down the road. Texans are going to be scary. Their defense is going to be unbelievable. The Steelers, crafty team. If Fields gets in there, I don't know about with Russell Wilson in terms of like deep playoff team, but if Fields is in there, I truly believe we're going to see a completely different offense than if we see Russell Wilson in there. So that's scary. We'll see what the Browns do. We'll see what the Jets do. I mean, there's a lot of competition. The Niners have maybe as much of a capability of being the same team, but there's too many teams that leveled up this offseason to kind of be on their same playing field is what I'm trying to say. That's why their window's closed. It's not like their talent is really diminished from last year to this year. It's just that so many people got better.
No, I'm right there with you on that one, Smitty. Hey, the meatloaf and mashed potatoes is ready, man. I got to run. But thank you so much, bro.
All right, later, young.
I'll
Bob,
talk to you later, dude. Thank
Bob, you're live. Then back to Ron Navy. Then I got to go because then I got to go get the Hawaiian barbecue that we're ordering tonight. Check your DM, says Rockout. Go ahead, Bob. Thank you, Rockout.
Hey, Smitty, how soon do Trey Benson, Keaton Mitchell, and Vidal step into the starting lineup? Mainly the first.
I mean, we're totally guessing, right? You said Vidal, Keaton Mitchell. First of all, Keaton Mitchell's not stepping into the starting lineup. I mean, Henry, you're predicting a Henry injury. Keaton Mitchell's coming back from a torn ACL. I'm not saying that you can't.
I'm talking about the first two: James Conner, Trey Benson, and Vidal out of the.
Okay, Vidal by midseason, I believe he's starting games. maybe earlier, maybe week 5. I mean, you're talking about J.K. Dobbins being probably now the Akers. Is Akers even in the league? I'm almost embarrassed, but I'm not, that I don't know the answer to that. Hey, Ziggy, is Cam Akers on an NFL team?
Cam Akers is a running back for the Minnesota Vikings.
Is he on? I don't think he's on the Vikings anymore, though. I don't think he's on the. I don't know. We'll have to look. Maybe he still is. I don't know. But if Cam Akers is, J.K. Dobbins is the most injury-prone running back in the National Football League that is in a position to get near starter carries or close to it. So I'm not worried about J.K. one single bit. No running back has ever become a top 10 running back after an Achilles injury. Not one running back ever. And he's coming off, an ACL a few years before that. He's coming off the Achilles this year. He says it was a cakewalk type of recovery. BS. It's not. His explosion won't be there. Gus Edwards, I think we all kind of like Gus Bus. He has a cool name, number one. But, he was fun to watch in Baltimore. But I don't know that he's going to... He's very inefficient for the majority of the season and really lived off the touchdowns, which... Even Henry might do that. I don't know that Henry's going to be some 5-yard per carry running back in Baltimore. He's clearly kind of lost a little bit of a step, but he's going to survive on double-digit touchdown weeks and maybe multiple double-digit touchdown weeks. There might be 2 weeks out of the year that he has 3 touchdowns in one game. So Derrick Henry could have 950 rushing yards and 15 scores or something. So I would say Vidal by midseason. And then the other one was who?
Trey Benson. Trey Benson, both James Conner and Gus Bus or Gus Edwards, however you want to call them, they both tremendous seasons. And I think one of them put up 800 yards, and that was Gus. And then James Conner put up, I think, 1,000. And both of them had about 8 touchdowns. They were just touchdown machines. And my fear is that they're going to continue to be touchdown machines because they're both playing in, tremendously good systems with tremendous head coaches who like to run the ball. The problem, though, is that, Derrick Henry, he's going to be I don't think anybody's ever been as old as him and put up numbers like that. You'd have to go to the side of the ball and wide receivers like Rice, who's playing at 40. So I'm just really concerned that these people aren't going to get the playing time they deserve, and it's going to be more of a who's the backup to Kenneth Walker? It's going to be like
Charbonnet.
That, or
maybe just so you know though, Gus Edwards had a pretty bad year. You look at a couple of the weeks and he had some amazing spike weeks. So 45 running back 45 in week 1, running back 22 in week 2, running back 47 in week 3, running back 35 in week 4, running back 37 in week 5, running back 37 in week 6. So he wasn't even, and he was getting 10 carries and he was getting work for majority of this time. Week 7, he was running back 6. Then he was running back 3. Then he was running back 11. Then he was running back 30 and then running back 6. So that 6, 3, 11, and 6 really put him on the map. And then he was running back 48. Then he had a bye week, and then he was dreadful the remainder of the season again. 63, running back 63, running back 17, running back 18, running back 29, running back. So he did not have a great year. What you saw to Gus was touchdowns, like I said. So I'm not expecting him. He's going into a potentially good system. Yeah, but I also don't know that they're going to use just him. They're going to run a committee. This might be a 3-headed monster. And at some point Gus gets hurt, or I don't know. We'll see. I'm not opposed to drafting him very, very, very late, but I'd just rather take Vidal only, and I think he grabs the job. As far as Keaton Mitchell, cuff him to Henry because Henry is a dinosaur. There's no doubt he comes with the injury risk. I just don't know that I would have worded it the way you did. At what point's Keaton Mitchell getting in there? I think you could see Henry linger. But I do think you need to cuff Keaton Mitchell. As far as Connor and Benson, and I'll end it on this, I'll say, and then I got to jump, so I'm going to go to Ron after this. I would say Connor's probably going to get injured at some point during the year. He always does get injured. And he played well for a string of games last year, But he also had a very similar season to Gus Edwards, and I don't think people really realize that because he had some of those spike weeks. So let me put up James Conner's running back game log, which I think will surprise you at the end of the day. Running back 20, running back 15, running back 6, running back 36, running back 38, missed a game. So 4 games missed. He's always getting hurt. Now, you could say Kyler Murray, right, is kind of maybe a shift or whatever, but he was still running back 34, running back 27, running back 40, and then it really was his finish. And if you take out Week 18, because if you use Week 18's data, then it can skew it very, very aggressively toward Conner having an amazing year. So you got to be careful using Week 18 because he was running back 1 in Week 18. So he didn't do really anything except for Week 3 where he's running back 6. Everything else was pretty bad. Week 13, running back 5. Bye week, running back 11, running back 4, running back 4, running back 1. So he finished on a tear. Now, you could look at this 2 ways. He's carrying momentum in to the season. He's got Kyler Murray on course. You've got, obviously stretching the field. Defense is kept honest now that Marvin Harrison Jr. is in play. And I like that. That's why I'm drafting him. But I'm cuffing him. And the truth of the matter is I don't know when the situation is going to flip, but they did draft Benson to be their future starter. And he was arguably the number 1 or at least number 2, but to a lot of teams, number 1 running back prospect in the draft. And you don't take that running back to be the backup. You are essentially saying we could get a guy and just kind of supplement if Conner gets hurt. But when you take the number 1 or in some cases number 2 running back prospect, you're essentially saying this is going to be the guy we've invested in and we're going to bank on him. So I do believe Benson will get an opportunity. Once he gets it, I don't think he gets it taken away. Also, keep in mind, like as much as we like a player, all it takes is 4 or 5 bad games in a row, and then people just move on. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how good he finished. Doesn't matter what he's brought to the table the previous years. If Conner starts off and he's sluggish, and Benson gets in there and pops a couple runs, they're splitting this thing 70-30, and we still want Conner involved to keep Benson healthy. But I would say Week 8. I would say Week 8 for all of the questions you asked me, except for Keaton Mitchell and Henry. I would say that one you're just cuffing and hoping that you don't need to use him. But I like Keaton a lot. I just don't know coming off.
Which out of the 3 do you want the most? And you're reaching or are reaching for the most?
I mean, I don't. Vidal's the end of the draft guy. I'm not cuffing anything in LAC. I don't want Gus or JK. So I'm not going near that. I'm just taking Vidal at the end of my draft. But I'm drafting Conner and Benson together like clockwork. And, it's a tough question because, like, Henry's going around 4. Conner and Benson are going around, like, 8, 9, 10. And Keaton Mitchell's or Vidal's going in double-digit rounds. So, like, there's no real way to answer. You could have all of them if you want. There's no way to quantify which one's better because they're all different draft territories. So there's no way to answer that. Like, you're talking about Benson, Vidal, and Keaton Mitchell, the backups. Benson by a mile, because he could be a top 6 to 10 running back. He's the best one out of all of them. Vidal could be crafty, though, if he's the only starter there and he's running the ball in that hardball offense. But Benson's the top 6 to 10 running back of the future and maybe even midseason on, in my opinion. I love Benson. He's so good, bro.
What exactly was Benson's injury? Was it just a clean ACL tear, or was it the MCL?
You mean Keaton Mitchell? You mean Keaton Mitchell?
No, said Trey Benson. Because didn't he also like?
No, you're thinking about Jonathan Brooks, I think. I mean, are you talking about 2020?
Yeah. Didn't Benson get injured at Florida?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about 2020. Yeah, 2020 he had looks like he had like an ACL, and there's a little bit of MCL damage, but like, dude, that's so far. That's so far in the past. I think it was 2020 or something. He got injured. I'm not sure, but Benson's not an injury concern whatsoever.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Later.
Yep. Have a good night.
All right. Ron, any final thoughts before I jump and go get some food?
Not really. Go get your food, dude. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
My dog's biting the heck.
All right, later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, everybody. I appreciate you. I'll see you all later. Kyren to the moon. Celebratory message. 0.5 PPR. Andrews, Kincaid, or McBride. 7th round. McBride by a mile. I'm not saying I don't love Kincaid. I'm just saying give me McBride all day. All right. I appreciate every single one of you. Kyren to the moon. Let the doubters doubt. Just laugh at them. Just ignore it. Kyren's dropping to the 3rd round, people. Third round. McVay has said, I repeat, let me read it to everybody just so if anybody's late to the party, whatever. McVay has said it's nothing to worry about. He'll be ready for training camp. But there's a little issue when he was training. It's kind of, I'll just leave it at that. But it's nothing to be concerned about. He said McVay joked that he's probably good because this guy won't stop. He's a maniac that works so hard. Sometimes it's good to just be able to pull him back and take him off the field, which is what he did. He also said that he was going to put him with the VP of Sports Medicine and Performance, Reggie Scott, to kind of what they're doing with Christian Watson. Be like, hey, let's make sure this guy is not overworking himself. He's on the field in May pretending it's August, and McVay's like, you got to stop this. That's what it is. Is there injury risk? Of course there's injury risk. Am I worried about this specific injury? No. But is there injury risk because he doesn't know how to go 80, 90% sometimes? He goes 100,000% like Pacheco into a brick wall, and he trains like that. There's footage of him right now that's out that was like a couple weeks old of him taking a sled 100 yards down the field, just dragging a sled 100 yards down the field, doing sprints. Instead of doing 100-yard sprints, he's doing 100-yard sprints, dragging a sled down the field. And so McVay's essentially saying, I'm not worried about it, but he's going to sit out to make sure we don't lose our number one offensive player. And the weird part is that haters of Kyren are taking away that, oh my God, they're going to start Corum in week 1 or something, when McVay's telling you this is the heart and soul of the offense. We need to make sure we have Kyren ready for week 1. That's the crazy part, and I love it. I'm taking advantage of it. We're hitting the smash button anywhere in round 3, and you cuff Corum no matter what. This is one of, if not the biggest league-winning players, Kyren Williams, cuffed to Blake Corum with no concern of this situation per McVay. Let people freak out. Not concerned long-term, McVay says. Nothing to worry about. And so let's go ahead and smash our leagues. Let's take care of our and take advantage of our leagues and our league mates that are overlooking the situation like a worried William. You draft Corum, you cuff him at all costs, but you take this to the moon. 3rd round steal. You tell me in January I can draft Jamar Chase in round 1, Barkley or Achane in round 2, Kyren in round 3, and Mahomes in round 4. I call you a liar. That's what I would do. I would say there's no way that's happening. Get in the time machine. Let's go. Show me. I'm going to be like Scrooge looking over from the corner as I'm live streaming in the corner. I'm standing there with Scrooge going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm on a live stream talking about drafting Chase in 1, Barkley or Achane in 2, Corum in 3, and maybe even McBride or Kelsey in 4, and Mahomes in 5 if you're drafting on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. Are we really talking about that kind of team you can build? This is absolutely insane and to the moon. It wins leagues for people. Just pay attention and don't let the regurgitation you're hearing elsewhere stray you away from Kyren in round 3 when you can cuff him to the solution and have a guaranteed top 5 running back in a McVay system in 2024. Do it live. Appreciate you. See it tonight.
He's Kyren, he's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyren, he can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
I'll be back tonight. We're live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, live when big news breaks and live most midnights drafting. Brian Sean, you said you start a Banshee. How you like it? See you all tonight.